today stopping by, we have a very, very special guest, an awesome former wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Houston Texans, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's also a co-host on the Bleav In Texans podcast. Also a pretty good quarterback, Cecil Shorts III. Cecil, thank you for joining the show.
Hey, brother, what's going on, man? I appreciate that intro. That was nice of you.
Definitely, dude. Hey, I'm not trying to make you feel old, okay? But, man, I remember watching you on Jacksonville and Houston and as a kid, and I was like, yeah, I love you and Alan Hearns. Like, you were the top two guys. I loved it.
I love Hearnsy. Hearnsy's a good guy.
Yeah, definitely, man. But no, it was, I'm glad we could do this. And obviously, the Texans are playing the Jets tonight. Big game for both teams. But I want to bring back a memory. So when you were on Houston, you actually had a trick play touchdown against the Jets.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Back in 2015. So I was at the receiver on the left side, and they kind of threw a pass. They threw a pass to me, and I ended up throwing it deep to a receiver. Yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. It was a good time.
Yeah. Hey, I think you were meant to be a quarterback. 3 for 3 in your career with 2 touchdowns. Come on.
Say it again?
I said, I think you were meant to be a quarterback. You went 3 for 3 with 2 touchdowns in your career.
Oh, brother, man, my whole life I was a quarterback. So high school.
No way.
Little league. Yeah, I was a quarterback in Little League in high school. Then I went to college. I ended up changing my position my redshirt freshman year. But I was a quarterback my whole entire life, so throwing was nothing, man. It was a dream to be able to throw a touchdown pass, or to be able to do 2 of them, or to throw 2 touchdowns and complete 3 passes as a whole in the NFL is pretty surreal.
Man, that's crazy. What was that transition like from QB to wide receiver?
It was good, but it was tough. Like, I knew where to be because I was a quarterback, so I knew where I needed to end up. But how to get there efficiently was tough, right? So learning how to release off the line of scrimmage, learning how to run routes, learning how to do certain things as a receiver was tough. But catching and getting to the right spot, I understood that part. But just understanding how to be a receiver, it took some time for me to learn. My redshirt freshman year, I was behind 5 seniors. So I was legit the 6th receiver, and I would get backup time as quarterback. But yeah, so it was a lot to learn. I learned from those guys. Learned from a good guy named Pierre Garcon, who played 12 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
And then, kind of the following year, I ended up being a starter, and kind of things worked out from there. So it made a transition a whole lot about being a receiver.
Yeah. You got the both of you put Mountain Union on the map. So that's awesome to hear the two of you being on the same team. I didn't know you were both there at the same time.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I watched him get drafted. So I was there, I guess, my freshman year and redshirt freshman year. He got drafted to the Colts after my redshirt freshman year. So I got to spend 2 years with him. And then he went off and had this great NFL career and kind of opened the eyes up for me and a few other guys after me to get an opportunity in the NFL. So, man, thanks to Pierre. Honestly, he really set the standard high for guys after him.
Yeah, definitely. That must have made you also, really believe someone in your same position, they can make it, you can make it too.
No, for sure. It's rare that a Division III guy gets the opportunity to play professional football, right?
Yeah.
Most Division III guys are, we're there because we love the game, and after our 4 or 5 years, that's it. You know what I mean? We get into the real world, which is no issue at all, but to have that opportunity to play at the highest level is pretty sick.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, man.
Hey, I can believe it, man. I can believe it. So I want to talk a little bit about this game between Houston and the Jets. Before I brought you on, I was doing a segment on the Texans, though, saying that these past couple of years, their quote-unquote rebuild is like a model rebuild. They should be a model franchise to teams because they didn't rush the process when it came to drafting players and building this team together. So, as a former Texans player and following the NFL, were you surprised on how quickly they were able to turn around this franchise from once they moved off to Deshaun to now having C.J. Stroud and making them a perennial powerhouse?
Yeah, I was surprised. 3-4 years to really turn things around. But good things happen when you have a general manager like Nick Caserio, who finds a legit head coach, right? A player's coach, a guy that guys want to play for, in DeMeco Ryans. He did a heck of a job his rookie year. And just to be honest, as an educated guess, do your research, of course, but you're guessing to the best of your ability that, these guys will turn out and play well quickly. And I don't think anybody thought that C.J. Stroud would play the way he played last season as a rookie. The things he was able to, the things that you just don't see from a rookie quarterback. And nobody expected anything from the Houston Texans last year. But for him to be able to lead the franchise to a playoff win and get to the second round, the divisional round, is a really, really big deal. And what they're doing is they're Nick Caserio and DeMeco, they're drafting guys. They're helping develop guys. Nico Collins was the guy that Nick Caserio drafted and developed as a third round or a second round pick a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And he developed him and developed him, and now he's this superstar, right? You can say the same thing about a few other guys. So it's really good to see guys they bring in and they're developing and they're putting in place and they're becoming good players, right? So that's credit to the organization. That's credit to the head coach, the GM, and then the players. I mean, they're playing lights out. Even right now at 6-2, they're not playing their best ball, I would say, on offense. But overall, you're 6-2. In your second year with a new head coach, right? That's unheard of. That's really unheard of. And they're finding ways to win games. Good teams find ways to win games. Last year in this situation, last year early in the season, they were in close games, and they would find ways to lose because they had younger guys on the field. They weren't developed yet. They were still figuring things out. Now, just 1 year removed from last year, they're finding ways to win games, right? They never feel like they're out of it. They trust CJ. They trust the defense. They trust each other. They trust their coach. They trust the system that's in their hand. So yes, to answer your question, yes, I was very surprised. I thought it would take 2, 3, 4 years to get things back going, but they have things rolling right now in a very good way.
Yeah. So you kept mentioning trust, right? Trusting in, I guess, each other, offense, trusting the defense, and then obviously trusting the coaching staff. Is that hard to do in the NFL? Is it hard to find that or find trust that early on in terms of a new team being put together?
I think when you come to a team, right, especially you have younger guys, when you come to a team where there's a new head coach, a first-time head coach last year, you're kind of like coming in blind, trusting him. Like, okay, DeMeco had a good reputation as a player and a good reputation with the 49ers as defensive coordinator. He's, a really good guy. So when you draft and bring in all these young guys, they have no choice but to trust him, right? Then when you surround him with veterans, they're like, okay, let's see what he's about. And you earn that trust with how you treat the players, how you hold people accountable, what's your day-to-day, like how you're approaching the game, how you're approaching the team. And DeMeco has earned that trust from day one of last year, his first year there. Now coming into this year, won the first round of the wild card round, after they have shocked the world. Now you go out and you sign Joe Mixon, you sign Stephon Diggs, you sign a Daniil Hunter, right? You bring these guys in, and Danico Autry, you bring these guys in, and they're fully bought into what's going on because of the head coach. So because of the culture they're building, from the younger guys buying in, having success in 1 year, and then obviously successful this year, the older guys are coming in, and Stephon Diggs came right in. He's a team captain his first year, right? Joe Mixon's the best player on offense right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
he's incredible. It's like, so the ability to trust is built by the culture of what the head coach is doing, and he's doing a heck of a job with his players.
Definitely. And so, being a former wide receiver, again, this is Cecil Shorts III stopping by. Being a former wide receiver, though, Nico Collins and Stroud have just a crazy good dynamic. It seems like when Nico's on the field, it's Stroud's go-to guy. So, being a former receiver, how do you become a guy that your quarterback just kind of trusts to throw it up to and just says, well, if he's in the vicinity of the ball, he's going to come down with it?
Well, it starts in practice. It starts in the off season, and it's repetition after repetition after repetition after repetition. It's the reps you don't see at practice, right? It's when they're off and they fly to Florida and they're working together, working on their timing, right? When they're out in California and CJ's like, hey, come out to California. He'll fly him out, and they're throwing, at a high school somewhere. That's where you build the trust because they see each other working. They know how much time they're putting in, and then the repetition after repetition after repetition. And then when the game lights come on, you make the play. And then I come to you again, you make another play. Then I come to you again, you make another play. Like, okay, this is my guy. I can trust him. We put the work in the offseason. He's in the right spot at the right time. He knows where I want him to be. Then when I do throw it to him, he's making the plays. So it's a built thing. The chemistry is built over repetition of over and over again, off camera, off practice field, on practice field. And then when the game time comes, it's just easy because they've done it so many times before they even touch the field. So that's how the chemistry comes from a wide receiver to a quarterback.
Yeah, and look at the wide receiver room. Stephon Diggs, unfortunately, is out for the rest of the season. With the deadline coming up, do you think Houston could make a move for a wide receiver like a Jacoby Myers?
You know what? I wouldn't take anything off the table because I do believe they're in win-now mode. When you have a quarterback of this caliber, this young, who hasn't is not up for a contract extension for another couple of years, you want to put everything in the you want to be all in right now and try to win a Super Bowl, right? So I wouldn't put it past them, but I don't think they need to.
Okay.
I think Nico Collins will be back in a couple of weeks. I think you have enough in that room that they can make plays when a number is called, whether it's Xavier Hutchinson, whether it's John Mechie, whether it's Robert Woods. People forget about Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz had a heck of a year last year.
He did.
It's just now it's kind of overshadowed because, it's so many good receivers. Stephon Diggs, Nico, and Tank, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's time for those guys to step up that's in that room already and continue to feed Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is your workhorse right now. Continue to feed him, play action, go down the field with Tank, use Robert Woods and Mechie and Schultz and Hutchinson underneath in the intermediate, and I think you'll be okay for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, gosh, Mixon and Pierce. Pierce is finally come back to form. It seems like. I think the one thing I've noticed when I look at the four AFC and NFC championship teams last season with the Lions, the Niners, the Chiefs, and the Ravens, they all had a dynamic running or backfield, right? You have to have a good running game. So do you think having Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce helps put this offense over the top now?
I do. I think it's going to come down to pass protection, though. Right?
Okay.
So I think when you look at Pacheco's with Kansas City, right? When you look at the Christian McCaffrey when healthy with the 49ers, when you look at Detroit Lions, am I saying the Detroit Lions are in Super Bowl contention? I am.
Gosh, what a weird line to say. Yeah, that's
know, right?
crazy.
Jamar Gibbs and David Montgomery, like, they can run the football. You still need to run the football to be able to win games, right? You never know where you're going to end up. You could end up in Kansas City. You could end up in Baltimore in the AFC Championship game. Guess what? It's going to be freezing cold. So it's going to be harder to throw the ball. The winds could be crazy. You never know. You have to be able to pound the rock. So when you have a Joe Mixon, like you mentioned, the Dameon Pierce, that can make a big play, that can have an explosive run here and there, that can get positive yards every time they touch the rock. It seems like Joe Mixon falls forward every single time. But when you have that opens up the whole entire offensive playbook. So now, just another play action. Now, defense has to bring an extra guy in the box. So I do think that's incredibly needed to be a serious championship contender.
Definitely. And again, this is Cecil Shorts III. A few more questions for you. One of them looking broader at the quarterback position, primarily in the same draft class that featured C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson. Those two QBs, it seems like they're being given a unfair shake at things. Do you think, now I will say the Colts are 4-4, they're in contention, but do you think owners are starting to move off of players way earlier than ever before?
Ask that question again. They're starting to do what with players?
I said, do you think owners are starting to move off of players earlier than ever before? Like, I was talking about Bryce Young last week on my show, and if they were to theoretically trade him at the deadline, it'd be the first time a number one pick has been moved in 3 years, without starting for 3 years. So do you think these quarterbacks aren't being given enough time to develop?
I think we have an unrealistic expectation of quarterbacks nowadays, right? C.J. Stroud, Jaden Daniels, you don't see that often. That's just not what it is. If I look at legit, like for example, I look at Green Bay. Brett Favre was the quarterback forever. They drafted Aaron Rodgers first round, he sat 2 or 3 years before he took over. He sat 2 or 3 years before he took over.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers was a quarterback forever. They drafted Jordan Love. He sat 2 or 3 years before he took over. And look how Aaron Rodgers turned out. Look how Jordan Love is turning out, right? Same thing with Patrick Mahomes. They drafted Patrick Mahomes first round. He sat his first year. He didn't play not one game until the end of the year against Detroit. He didn't play not one game.
Mm-hmm.
He sat. So to truly develop people, to truly develop quarterbacks, in my opinion, you have to be, number one, patient. Number two, you have to put them on you have to put them in a situation to succeed. So I go back to Aaron Rodgers. The Packers were good when Aaron Rodgers took over, right? They surrounded him with pieces that were he can just slide right on in. They drafted some guys with pieces around him, and they were able to go to the Super Bowl pretty soon. When you look at Patrick Mahomes, Alex Smith's best year was when Patrick Mahomes got drafted. They went to the second round of the playoffs. Alex Smith he might have won the MVP that year. He was incredible. The team was good. Now you put a quarterback in place with a already good team. So you're bringing these guys in, Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson, to a team that's not that good, and expect them to make a milkshake out of mud. It's not going to work that way. You have to truly develop these guys. And one thing about Anthony Richardson didn't impress nobody at Florida. He only played 13 games.
Yeah,
he struggled at Florida. He'll have one game he looks decent, and then one game he looks terrible. One game he looks outstanding, then one game he looks terrible. Like, what were you expecting? He was going to be a project. Now, when you look at him physically, oh my gosh. Look at his arm talent, oh my gosh. Like, everything he brings to the table, oh my gosh. But you can't all of a sudden he's going to turn it on and be able to be a Pro Bowl quarterback when he wasn't even that in college, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, too, if I look at C.J. Stroud, Jaden Daniels, those guys played a lot of football. They played a lot of college football. Even looking at Bo Nix, he played a lot of college football. That's reps and reps and reps. And you had to be put in a good situation. So I do think owners are a little impatient. I do think this kind of unrealistic. I mean, just being honest, Bryce Young was put in a situation last year. Nobody was going to be. Like, if CJ went there, I doubt he was going to be decent. Like, it's hard.
That's,
right?
Yeah.
It has to be the right situation at the right time, and you can't give up on a kid so early. You have to, in my opinion. I think the Colts are a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I think Flacco is the better situation right now. But you have to know coming in, okay, what's the best thing for this kid? Should we sit him? Let's draft him number 4, but maybe we should sit him. Maybe we shouldn't even, think about playing him until we feel like, as a collective, as a team, that he's fully ready to go out there and play ball. Because there's no way you thought he was ready coming out of college. He played 13 games.
Yeah.
His completion percentage was like hovering around 50%. Like, that's terrible for number 4 overall pick. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, definitely. Especially with expectations to be the starter. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough. Yeah. Tough. 2 more questions for you, Cecil. One of them just being about a former teammate of yours and also a former Clemson Tiger, DeAndre Hopkins. He's now in the Kansas City Chiefs. He had his ramp-up game against the Raiders. Do you think he's going to be able to be a key contributor the rest in the regular season for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, he's going to catch the football. Like, that's what D-Hop does. Y'all saw it at Clemson. Mm-hmm. You see it all around. He's going to catch the football. He's exceptional when it comes to catching the ball when it's in the air. Is he going to run by anybody nowadays? Probably not. It's year 12 for him. But he's going to get open. He's going to be physical. He's going to make the tough catch, and he wants to win. Like, that's the biggest thing I love about D-Hop. He wants to win at all costs. So he'll be in the right spot at the right time. I think him and Mahomes will have a really good connection as the season progresses. Definitely.
And my last question for you, Cecil, is you played in the NFL for a number of years, and you had a lot of success. Just what was that like for you? Do you have any a key memory from it? Like, just what was playing the NFL like?
You know what? I'm just. You asked about memories. I'm just happy a kid from Cleveland got the opportunity to do it, man. I went to a Division III school. The odds are against everybody to make the NFL, but especially the odds are against you when you go Division III. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So every game, every practice, every moment, every person I came in contact with, I cherish. I truly, truly love that I got to live out my dream, and that others, whether it's in the NFL or another path, get to live out their dream, because it's a special, special, surreal thing when you get to do that. So I'm just very fortunate.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining the show, Cecil. I would love to do this again sometime, but thank you so much.
No problem. Anytime, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right. See you.